Okay, welcome. My name is Monica Perry. I'm your Market Center Tech Trainer, and today we are going to look at Docusign tips, tricks, and time savers. So if you're new to KW, if you're new to Docusign, hopefully this will help you all out. I personally love Docusign. I have been in real estate since 2008 as a licensed agent, and I used to have to carry around a file box. A plastic file box with wheels and a handle. And I took it everywhere with me and I put it in my car and it had all of my printed documents in it. It wasn't the best use of my time. Needless to say, not the best use of my time. So I am very passionate about teaching you guys how to use Docusign. I am a Docusign certified trainer and I just love Docusign, and it's going to continue to get better and better here within the KW environment. So I will be sharing this resources guide with you guys at the end of class. If you're watching us out on YouTube, it should be in the description box of the YouTube video. So it's just a resources guide that I've made for you guys. So everything that we talk about today has links to articles that can help you to walk you through if you forget what we spoke about today. So the first thing that we are going to cover is setting up our template. So before you ever do your first transaction in Docusign, it's super important that we set up our templates. So in order to do this, and there is an answers article right here that can help you with this too after the class, we are going to go directly to Docusign Rooms to get started setting up these templates. So we are going to go to realestate.docusign.com. And this will take you to Docusign Rooms. If you only go to Docusign.com, that is going to take you to the Docusign e-signature platform, which is a separate entity in and of itself. So we are working with Docusign Rooms. That is what connects us to Command. So first steps, if you're following along, go ahead and go to realestate.docusign.com on your computer and log in with your Keller Williams credentials. Today, I don't feel like being David. I would like to be Monica. So let me log myself out from where I was helping David earlier and log myself into my account. Okay. So once we get in, you're going to see Docusign Rooms in the upper left corner of my screen. That lets you know that you are in the correct spot. You also want to make sure that in the upper right corner of the screen that you see that Keller Williams logo. This lets you know that you are in your Keller Williams Docusign account. So you don't want to be in your personal Docusign account. If you came to us from another company and you already use Docusign, please get with me and I will help you to get connected to the Keller Williams side of Docusign Rooms. So now that we are here, let's talk about templates. So templates by far and away are one of the biggest time-saving features that we have in Docusign. Keep in mind, it is currently May 10th, and as of July 1, we will get new forms in Docusign. So somewhere around close to July 1st, I will have a class about setting up our brand new templates. And that's all we're going to focus on, setting up our new templates for our 2022-2023 version of our forms. Currently, we're in our 2021 version of our forms. So just keep that in mind. However, if you plan to transact between now and July 1st, it will be a huge time saver for you to go ahead and at least set up a few of your templates. So now that we are here, we are going to come up to the top and click on My Docs. So again, we have logged into realestate.docusign.com, logged in with our KW credentials for Docusign, and we are now going to click on My Docs up at the top, like so. And so now that we are here under My Docs, we are going to click on Form Templates. So the next line down from My Docs, we now have Form Templates. Okay. Now, You're going to see a list of all the templates I've created. Obviously, a lot of these are tests, but I do want to walk you through the process of creating a form template. So hopefully you girls are hearing me. If you want to drop in the chat, what form would you like to see me create a template for? The ones that I usually recommend are 1, the listing agreement, 2, the buyer agency agreement, 3, the offer to purchase and contract. So out of those 3, if you would drop in the chat, which one would you prefer to see me set up a template for? We will go ahead and demonstrate that here on the video. Offer. Perfect, Shannon. Thank you. All right, so we're going to now come to the upper right corner and click Create Form Template. Okay. So bear in mind, I'm in 3 market centers. So you're going to see some things in my account that you won't see in your own. So up here at the top, I can choose to pick from the Docusign form library. And if I drop down this bottom box, I will have my market center specific forms. I will also have all of the North Carolina Association of Realtors forms. Depending upon if you were in the Triad MLS or the Triangle MLS, then you might see some of those. Also, if you're in Charlotte MLS, you might see that, but you won't see all of the ones that I have. So if I choose NCAR, North Carolina Association of Realtors, this is all of the documents that NCAR has provided to us as agents. And you can see there are a lot of them. And this includes commercial, vacant land, and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't feel like lugging your way through here, at the top, you can choose Docusign Forms Group. And dependent upon which market center you're in, you will see broken down lists of specific forms. So this is an offer. So for example, Keller Williams Realty Elite in Winston-Salem has the folder KWRE buyer forms. So this is a pared down grouping of forms that are necessary for us for a buyer in this specific market center. And your specific market center will have these groups set up for you. So here's that offer right at the top. I'm going to go ahead and choose to use that. We can only set up form templates 1 at a time. So if you want to set up that buyer agency offer to purchase and listing agreement, you just do each one at a time, and then you can move forward and use them over and over again moving forward. So we don't want to put anything that is transaction specific into the form. This is a template that we are going to apply to any transaction that we are going to have, right? So we don't need to put in the seller or the buyer or the property address, okay? We don't need to put in purchase prices. However, if I, for example, work with the same closing agent, the same closing attorney most of the time, then I can go ahead and put Randall Perry Law, LLC, right here in this escrow agent box, because that is normally who I would use to close. Now, if I had to use a different closing agent for some reason, maybe Randall was booked, I will be able to overwrite this in that specific transaction, right? So if I enter a set amount of text more than 50% of the time, then I normally put it in my template. So that saves me from having to type it. I will not know due diligence period or settlement date. So I'll keep moving through. There's nothing on here. Items leased or not owned. Almost always I run into none. So I can go ahead and type none because it's definitely more than 50% of the time. And I can type none here. Now, if this specific house I'm making an offer on has grandma's chandelier in the dining room, I can still overwrite it in the specific transaction and put that chandelier as the exception. Personal property, I never know about that, so I just leave that blank. I'm going to keep moving through. Okay, so here we go. Buyer representations. Do they intend to buy with cash, or do they intend to obtain a loan? Is verification of cash available for settlement? So here comes in one of those places where you can set up multiple templates. So you could have an offer to purchase that is set up for cash, and then a separate offer to purchase that is set up for financing, right? So different checkboxes would be checked. It's just one example of something that you might change here. If you are going to set up multiple templates for the same document, you must make sure that they have a unique name. So here in the upper left corner, I can click this pen, and I'm just going to say that this is for Docusign tips, tricks, and time savers from 510. But you guys could say this is the 2T offer to purchase cash, the 2T offer to purchase financing. So does anybody have any questions about the fact that we can set up multiple templates of the same document as long as they have a unique ID in its name? Any questions? Checking the chat. We click that green checkbox, and that saved that title for me, and I can keep working my way through here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm just going to do conventional FHA, you know, whatever it is. You can choose to check these boxes or not. So I'm going to keep sliding through. Okay, more than likely for my business, right? Everybody's got their own businesses, but more than likely my client does not have to sell a property. More than 50% of the time in my real estate career, the buyer did not have to sell their property prior to purchasing the property they're making the offer on. Okay, so I can go ahead and check that off. And now when I get down here to disclosures, so if the buyer received the copy of the North Carolina Residential Property Owners Association disclosure statement, and they received the mineral oil and gas right, I would say 90% of the time I have already provided these to my buyer. They have reviewed them, and they are going to be signing those disclosures at the same time that we are signing this offer. So I would like to go ahead and check those boxes so that I will not have to do that moving forward. Almost always, the sellers that I've seen have owned the property for at least 1 year. I know that we are in a different market than when I was actually selling, so that may be the case. Lead-based paint, it just depends. If you run into it a lot, you can go ahead and check that box. We don't know anything about the HOA, so I'm going to skip over that. We don't know who the deed is going to be made to, or if we're going to be asking for buyer paid or seller paid buyer expenses. So I'm going to keep skipping over that. I don't usually get a home warranty provided by a seller. I'm going to go ahead and check that box off. Keep moving my way through. Nothing here. That's all property specific. And now here's the money maker. So this is where you can really save yourself some time. So you know that you are going to be the agent that is selling this property when you are making this offer. So I can go ahead and type the firm that I am with in this box. And most of the time I would be acting as a buyer's agent. And I know that my firm license number is 26344. And I know our mailing address, right? So I can go ahead and type all of this in. And we are sweet 200. Do that. So you can type all of this stuff in, and then you won't have to type it anytime that you make an offer, which is definitely a time saver. So I'm going to go ahead and type Monica Perry and my license number, my phone number. Keep in mind, if you are a provisional broker, you do need to make sure that your firm's phone number is on some stuff. So just keep that in mind. I'm not a provisional broker. I'm going to go ahead and pop my email in here like so. So now this form is filled out to the furthest I can take it to apply it to every transaction that I have. So now that I've completed this template, I can click Save and Close. And that is how we set up a static form template. And that would be a template that we can apply to every transaction that we have moving forward. So any questions on this piece? This is our first time saver. We're going to visit realestate.docusign.com. We're going to set up our form templates for any form that we might want to template. Okay, go ahead, Lauren.
If we save and close, can we edit the template, like if we don't have the address in there yet? Or do you have to like delete it and start over?
You're going to come back to the same spot, right? And so here is, let me find, there's the one that I just made. Okay, so you're going to come over here and you're going to click the edit button, and you can go back in and edit anything you want. So again, you're going to come to the same place. You're going to come to realestate.docusign.com, click on My Docs at the top, click on Form Templates on the next screen, and then go to the template that you need to edit. And you can edit these templates at any time. Great question. Anybody else? Nothing in the chat. Fantastic. Okay, so let's move forward to our next tip. Now that you have your template set up, we are always, that's why it's highlighted, we are going to start our transactions in Command first. If you go to Docusign Rooms first and create your room and do some stuff, then it's not going to be able to connect to Command, okay? So I did attach visual aids. There is one for each market center because there are little nuances. We are each independently owned and operated. So make sure that you click on your office's checklist, right? The path to get paid here. I'm going to open this up so you guys can take a look. This is our workflow, okay? So a lot of people like this as a visual aid. They keep it in their book. They put it on their wall, whatever works for you. This is how we're always going to start. Number one, we are going to enter our contact or contacts into Command, right? So that doesn't matter if they're just your sphere of influence and in 6 months they decide to sell or buy, or if you just pick them up from a Facebook lead and they're ready to go, okay? The first step is always to enter the contact into Command with a minimum of their name and email address if we're going to be using Docusign, okay? Once that contact is ready to sell or buy, we are going to then create an opportunity for them in Command, AKA a transaction, okay? Then we're going to go to our Documents tab, pick a checklist type, and then start the transaction in Docusign. Yes, Tamika, I'm going to give you guys this sheet at the end, okay? So this is always the path. Don't come off of the path. It's a workflow, right? We pay millions of dollars for workflows to get established, and this is one of ours at KW. So let's take a look at how this works, right? So I'm going to sign in to Command. I'm not going to go through adding a contact because hopefully you guys have learned how to add a contact already, okay? I can either go to that contact and create the opportunity from within the contact. I can go to my opportunities handshake and create the opportunity from opportunities itself, that applet. Okay. I can even create opportunities on the go with my mobile app for Command. However, we are not quite to the point where we have the connection. You're going to see some big improvements coming to the app. We got the base of it built, and now we are going to enhance. Right? So as I come into my opportunity section, keep in mind, if you are on a team, you're going to see a team pipeline, and then you have an individual pipeline. So whatever side of Command your contact is on, you need to make sure they're on the correct side to create the transaction. Okay. So I'm just going to do this under my personal account just to keep it nice and clean. So I'm going to create that opportunity. I'm going to choose whether it's a listing or a buyer. And since we set up an offer as our template, I'm going to choose a buyer. I'm going to choose my client. I'm going to go through and I'm going to do all the stuff that I need to do for my opportunity. I can give it my tags and all that kind of fun stuff. Whatever I want to do here, put in my half of the commission, make sure that I'm changing my opportunity phase and stage to their appropriate places. I can even put in a budget here, and I'm going to create the opportunity. So keep in mind, if you're following the path, we've entered our contact, we've created our opportunity. So now that we created that opportunity, we are in our opportunities details page, okay? We have several tabs across the top of our opportunity. The one we are going to move to is documents, okay? So if you're following the path, we entered our contact, we created our opportunity, we are going to the documents tab. That was what we just did. And on the left, we are going to pick a checklist type. Now, picking this checklist type is what leads us into our next time saver. If you do not pick your checklist type prior to starting the transaction, one of your time savers is not going to fire, okay? So I'm going to choose residential. We're buying a residential piece of property. Notice how this working with real estate agents and buyer agency agreement have this little teal chip next to them that says DS. That DS stands for Docusign. If I go into my under contract folder, there's a DS next to my offer to purchase, my affiliated business disclosure for my specific market center, my agent disclosure for my specific market center. I have made sure that all of, and pro services, all of the market centers have this mapping set up for you. However, it is imperative that you first choose your checklist type, right? So that is going to be your next tip. Make sure that you pick your checklist type to automatically bring your required forms into the Docusign room. So that's where we are right now. Any questions about where we are right now up until this point? Checking the chat. Fantastic. Okay, so we've now picked our checklist type and we're going to click start a transaction. So remember, always start in command first, then always pick your checklist type first. Now, since I clicked start a transaction, if you on your own computer do not see Docusign immediately open for you to log in, it is because you have a pop-up blocker enabled on your computer. I see this a lot with Macs, right? So if Docusign didn't automatically open when you click start a transaction, make sure you check up here in this URL bar at the top. Usually somewhere around over here where these little icons are, you will see a red exclamation point showing you that there's a pop-up blocker that's stopping Docusign from opening. So somebody had this happening the other day that was following a video and they were like, it won't open. And once I got them into Zoom, they had about 30 Docusign windows open from where the pop-up blocker had stopped it. So just make sure you're on the lookout for that. I'm going to go ahead and move forward and log into my Docusign account. And that was weird. Normally it would have opened you right into that transaction. So we're going to just go back and do that. I think it might have been because I talked too long, which isn't unusual, but you know. Okay, so now you can see it connected my command opportunity to my Docusign room. Here it is Dakota Perry Buyer. In Docusign, it is Dakota Perry Buyer. And everything that had the little teal DS next to it in my folders now exists in my Docusign room. So I did not have to come up and add my documents and search for them and bring them in, right? So that's a time saver for you right there, not having to go and seek out every single document. Does this mean there's not going to be any other document that you need for this specific transaction? No, it doesn't. You very well could need some additional documents and you can come in and add them as needed, right? But these are the documents that you are going to have to use. So now, we had previously set up a template for our offer to purchase. So how do we apply that template? We're going to come over to this offer to purchase, right click, and choose Apply Form Template. It's going to give me every version of the offer to purchase that I have set up. So remember, I told you you can have multiple versions of the same document. Okay. And the one that we set up today was right here, 510. Okay. So now I'm going to apply. So now everything at the start of the class that we put into that template, if I open this offer to purchase, it is now filled in for me, right? So I don't have to go through and type my name and my license number and my company address and check those check boxes that more than 50% of the time already get checked. My client's name is already filled in for me, right? The purchase price came in from command. So there's some auto mapping coming from command. There's Randall's name as my escrow agent. I had him in my template, right? So keep moving through. There's that checkbox because my clients don't usually have to sell their house. I had checked off that they did receive a copy. I had checked own property for a year already and no home warranty. And then down here at the bottom is all of my data. As you can see, I don't have to type it, which is great. But like I told you guys, if something in this specific situation is different, so maybe this was a listing from my office, then I can uncheck this and pick dual agent because I am now dual agency. I can make changes for that specific transaction. I'm not pigeonholed into using what was on my template. I can change it. So any questions about applying your template or the fact that you can change your template? Awesome. So one thing I want to make sure about templates that I inform you of, if you had forgotten to apply your form template and you went in and started filling out that offer and you were like, oh man, you got down to the bottom and you're like, I don't want to type my name and all that kind of stuff. So you went ahead and applied your form template. If there was anything different that you typed than what existed on your form template, it will get overwritten. So make sure that you apply your form template prior to filling in the form. Any questions on that? Everybody good? Bye, Shannon. You're welcome, sweetie. All right, so great, no questions on that. Cool. So next up, pre-tagged roles. So this is super important. Ooh, one more thing I want to show you on templates. The mapping that exists, right? I did not apply a form template to my working with real estate agents disclosure. However, because my offer to purchase template had my name and my license number and all that stuff in it, check this out. It's got my name and my license number in there already because it existed in the other template. However, something like an exclusive buyer agency agreement, I had my commission rates and all that kind of stuff in the buyer agency. So I do want to go ahead and apply my buyer agency form template so that it will fill all of that stuff in, right? So you want to make sure that you do that. Cool. Okay. So now let's talk about pre-tagged roles. So say that I'm getting this offer signed, I'm getting this exclusive buyer agency signed, and I am getting my working with real estate agents brochure signed. And you might say, well, hold up, Monica, what if I want to add the disclosures? Okay, we got that. We're going to head into Triad MLS, no shade to Triangle MLS. I don't have access, so I have to use Triad. So I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to pick a house. I looked one up yesterday because I'm going to use it as an example. Well, I wrote it down, but there it is. Okay. I'm going to go to my dashboard and go to 2638 Mableton. Okay, so let's say I'm going to be making an offer on this property and here's its disclosures. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. So, okay, so, oh, MOG and RPD are together. Interesting. Well, I know in command, that I have to turn them in separately, right? So when I go under contract, I have a spot for the offer. I have a spot for the residential property disclosure. I have a spot for mineral oil and gas rights, okay? But on this one, they have them together as one document, right? That's going to cause compliance to kick this back to me if I turn them in as one document. So let's talk about what we can do there as we lead into another tip. I can grab, as soon as it finishes downloading, these disclosures and drop them into the Docusign room. Okay, so I can go ahead and get these signed right alongside the rest of my documents. However, if I want them to be separated, watch what I can do. I can open up this document. Okay, so here it is. I can come up to my document actions button and I can split this PDF. So I can say page 1 is the 2638 Mableton, 2638 Mableton MOG. And then I can click add document, and that's 2638 Mableton. Can't type today, Mableton RPD. Okay, so this was page 1 and this was page 2 through 5. Now I can apply. And it's going to split it, right? So once I save, I now have 2 documents. I have the MOG and I have the RPD. So any questions on the split? So I maintained my original, and now I have my separated documents. If I don't want this original anymore, I can click my checkbox and just trash it and get it out of my Docusign room. Good? Okay. So now we're ready to get signatures. So I'm going to take this working with real estate agents. We're going to pretend like we filled everything in already for the sake of time. Okay. Obviously, you would open up each of your forms and fill in everything that was necessary. But I'm going to take the stuff that I need to get signed, which is all of those. I could go ahead and get these other ones signed if I wanted to at this point too, but for the sake of time, we're just going to move forward. I'm going to click this pen up here to create an envelope, which is how we get signatures. And the use of pre-tagged roles is super duper important, super time saving. Don't make your life any harder. We already have to juggle enough as real estate agents, right? Go ahead and close some of this stuff out. All right. So we always want to name our Docusign envelope. So this is 2638 Mableton offer and Perry's fire paperwork, whatever's in here. Good. All right. So one little cool thing that people don't know that you can do in here is you can rearrange these forms. So I like for my forms to be in this order. So that's just me personally. So, you know, if you're not OCD like me, it might not bother you, but I want them to sign the working with real estate agents first. Then I want them to sign my buyer agency agreement. Then I want them to sign their offer. Then I actually want them to sign their residential property disclosure and then their mineral oil and gas rights. So I can drag and drop things into the appropriate spots. Okay. Any questions on that? Ready? Good. Awesome. Now, adding recipients from pre-tagged roles, super important, right? If I add them from room participants or email addresses, in the next step, I will have to manually drag and drop every signature, every date, every initial into the documents. Nobody has time for that. So make sure that you are using pre-tagged roles. And we can only use pre-tagged roles when we are using Docusign forms. So for example, where I uploaded those disclosures into the system, Docusign didn't build that specific document, so there's nothing to fill in. You have to manually do that part. But if it's a Docusign form, 100%, I know that buyer one needs to sign this offer to purchase. And buyer one is Dakota. I'm not working with these sellers. I don't need to worry about getting their signatures. I don't have a second buyer. I don't have a buyer entity or a seller entity. The listing agent's not signing any of this. The escrow agent isn't signing any of this right now, but I am signing as the buyer's agent, the exclusive buyer agency agreement. So I am selecting myself as that person. Any questions on pre-tagged roles? Everybody good? So if you're following along, we selected the documents that we wanted to get signed. We were under our Documents tab in our room. We clicked the pen on the toolbar to create an envelope. We renamed our envelope, rearranged our documents if you so choose, and then we added recipients from pre-tagged roles where we are only selecting the people that we are having sign right now. Okay, so now I'm going to add those selected people, and here they are in order. A lot of times I get asked if clients are sharing an email address. How can I do that? You can definitely add the recipient from pre-tagged roles. They have to be a part of the room. So you have to have their name added, but no email address. And then at this point, you would be able to add Sasha Perry and then put Dakota's email address into her email box. But they would need to sign in sequential order. So like one would need to sign first, and then you would have to renumber the second person using the same email address to being number 2 over here on the left-hand side. So yes, it is possible to have someone sharing an email address. Any questions on that? You guys are awfully quiet. Everybody with me? Can I get a digital thumbs up or a yes in the chat? Something. All right. Cool. So then we can type a message down here at the bottom to our client. Okay. And then we're going to move forward to next in the upper right corner. This is going to bring us into our envelope preview. Okay. And so you can see the benefit of pre-tagged roles here. So we've already saved ourselves a lot of time through the use of our templates that we already had set up, the use of our auto mapping of forms, so we didn't have to go seek out the forms once we were in Docusign, because we started in Command like we're supposed to. The buyer's name and email address got ported over from Command, right? And a lot of stuff has been saving us time throughout this process. So now, disregard that we didn't fill in all the text. You will see that the buyer signature is in place. The date signed is in place. If I'd had a second buyer, their signature would also be here, and they would have a date over here as well. You can see my template where it had brought in my information was applied, right? Dakota's name came in from the Command connection. Remember, we didn't fill in all the text just for the sake of time, but you can see all the stuff that was filled in from my templates is already there. Dakota's initials are in place. My initials are in place, right? So a couple of places I like to pay attention to. I'm not going to deep dive into this. We'll go over this in boot camp. If you've never been to boot camp, day 2 is all about opportunities in Docusign, and we get 2 hours to go over it. So we get a little more in detail there. But page 4 of the buyer agency agreement, these authorization initials here, authorizing either to act as a dual agent, exclusive representation at all times, or the designated agent option. All of these initials are not solid like the rest. That is because at this time, they are not required. That's why they're hollow, okay? Tamika, I'm going to answer that question for you in just a second, honey. So what I always do is I've already had this conversation with my buyer, and my buyer usually says dual agency is fine. So I click on this one, and then I come to the right and click required. And then I click on this one. I don't need it. I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to delete this one. This avoids any confusion by the person that's signing on what they're supposed to sign, because sometimes they'll sign all of them when they see them. Sometimes they don't see them at all because they're not required. Or sometimes they might sign the wrong one, not knowing that that was wrong. So if you just, take this small step in this envelope section, you can completely avoid that issue. So just a little tip there. So we're going to keep on sliding through. So you can see everybody's signatures or where they go, which is lovely. Over here on the right, we have this little preview. So I can open up each one and I can see there's 2 tags on the buyer agency agreement because my client is signing and I am signing. And I can say I want to navigate to page 6 and it'll take me right there. And then I can collapse this. And I could open the offer, and maybe on the offer, I need to double check what I had put on page 11. Then I could click on it and navigate myself straight there, right? So you can navigate through here, and you can see on the offer, only the blue tags exist because I, as the agent, do not sign this document. Only my buyer signs it, okay? So let's go to those uploaded disclosures. So again, these were not Docusign forms. We downloaded these from the MLS, and then we brought them into Docusign for our buyer to sign. So now, yes, I will need to make sure that I'm highlighting Dakota, who has got the blue fields. I'm going to bring Dakota's signature over to buyer's signature, and I'm going to bring a date for Dakota over to the date right here. Keep moving down. So if we hadn't used pre-tagged roles, we would have been doing this for every field. Nobody wants to do that. So don't do that to yourself. Use those pre-tagged roles. So we'll just drag over the stuff that we need. Uh-oh, looks like they accidentally had their seller sign somewhere. Like so. And again, here's another little tip. And I didn't put every one of these tips because I always forget how many that there actually are. I can copy these initials. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more instead of dragging and dropping, I can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can drag them into place where they go. Like so. Another cool thing, I'll show you this too. If I resize this initial because I'm like, that's going to be too big in that box. So I make it smaller like this. Then when I copy it and paste it, it stays the same size. So I do like that. And I can paste to location, which means it's going to go right where my cursor is hanging out as well. So there's a lot of little things that you can do in here. So any questions on pre-tagged roles, on any of the stuff that we've gone over so far? Other than Tamika's question in the chat. Everybody good? So then we would send this off for signatures. It would bring us back and let us sign as the agent and send the copy off to our client to sign, and everything would be fantastic. Now, Tamika asked in the chat, can we print all of the documents to have people sign in person? Okay. So the short answer is yes, but you don't need to print them from the envelope. You need to come in where you were filling them out in documents. The most important thing is that you have your stuff filled in. If you try to print a blank form that you haven't done anything to, it is going to more than likely put a sample watermark on it. Maybe not every time, but let me do this one. There's a download box up here. Let me see if it does it. This wasn't a, this was not a North Carolina Association document, so it might not do it. But if you've gone through and you have filled in everything, then yes, from this Documents tab, you can download the documents and print them out. Now, if you want to print out blank forms, my recommendation is that in Command, so say that you're running out the door and you're going to show a property and you need to working with real estate agents, but you were already in Command. If it's underlined here, you can actually click on the document. I've uploaded them and I do control Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and Chapel Hill. And when the new forms come out, I will change them. This is your working with real estate agents. So you can hit print right from here if you just need a blank one to fill out on the fly. But if you wanted to fill in all of the text and everything, you can do so here in Docusign. And then you can just take this offer and download it. Does that answer your question, honey?
Yes. It's just I know older people, they don't like to use the email to do Docusign. They want to see a piece of paper in front of you.
100%. So if you want to type all the text, I like to type because my handwriting's not the greatest. So if you're going to type it in, I would do it like this and then download it to your computer, right? Okay. If you just want blank copies, yes, it's pretty easy to go from Command, but since you're in my Winston-Salem Market Center, Stephen, our broker in charge, did give me permission. So, and I'll do it again. When the new forms come out, there is a link to my Google Drive. So every year when the new forms come out, I go to the North Carolina Association of Realtors website and I download every form that just came out and I put it all in a Google Drive and then I share it into the Facebook group for Winston-Salem because I have permission to do so. And you can just pull that link and that way you always have them. You can just print blanks right from your computer.
Okay.
100%. Absolutely. Great question. Great question. Okay. So we've got 7 minutes left. I love the conversation. So we might not make it through every single thing, but I do want to get to the next thing, which is sharing forms access, because Lauren was asking me about this. So if you're on a team, or in Lauren's case, if you're just an agent that's helping another agent out because you're learning or you're doing a little bit of transaction coordination for some extra money or whatever it is, if that agent exists in Keller Williams Docusign, that is Keller Williams Docusign. So if they're at a different brokerage, it won't work. If they don't have a Keller Williams Docusign account, this will not work. Okay. But I'm going to show you how you can share form access. And this is down here on this document too. So if I'm in my, oh, did I close out my Docusign? I think I did. Oops. Let me hit X. I'm going to go back to my transaction. And once you get lots and lots of rooms going, sometimes it's just easier to go through the opportunity to get to the right room. However, once that connection is established, you can always just go to realestate.docusign.com to get to the documents if you need to. Okay. But say that I did need another agent to have access to this transaction because they're helping me with my paperwork. I need to come into the People tab. And I'm going to click invite. And I'm going to type Tamika's name because she's right there. And I know she's in here. And you have an address book too. So you can like search the directory. Again, they do have to exist in Command. And there she is. So I can give her access by adding her. I'm inviting her to the room right now as an agent owner. I'm going to click invite. So now she exists in my people of this one DocuSign room. Now I can click the three dots and I can go to the Share Form Access button at the bottom, where I can choose, am I only going to let her add or edit forms in this transaction? Or if like it was my assistant or something, I could give them access to any of my rooms, okay? The only thing is they have to have access to the North Carolina Association of Realtors. They have to have a NERDS number, because if they don't, they won't have access to forms to add them. They'll be able to edit any forms that you added on your behalf, but they would not be able to add new forms, if that makes sense. So now that I click save, it says Tamika has form access. She can be in her DocuSign account and see this room because she is now sharing it with me. So she can come in and add stuff and edit stuff on my behalf for me. So Lauren, I hope that that helps to answer your question about that.
Yeah, that seems like exactly what my question was. Thanks.
I knew we were going to get there, so I was hoping that that was going to be what you needed. So let me change this to anyone with a link. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to drop these resources down here in the chat. So you guys have this document. Just make sure if you want to take notes on here, come up to the file button and make yourself a copy. But I am going to continue adding to this because as I was talking, I was like, wait a minute, I didn't put that on the sheet. So if you just want to not edit it yet, you're going to see the edits that I make to it when I make them. But we made it to shared form access. We have 3 minutes left. So the last thing I'm going to show you guys, we looked at splitting PDF. I brought that in a little bit earlier. I'm not going to hit in-person signing. There are the directions for it. That is set to receive an update soon where we're going to actually be able to do that in DocuSign rooms. But for now, it has to be done in DocuSign e-signature, and that's the directions to do it. We're not going to go over that today, but I will show you about emailing documents into DocuSign. So if you didn't know, if you're on your dashboard, okay, so say you're in here, you can come to your inbox at the top. Right here. And if you've never set it up before, you see where mine says monicaperry@mail.docusign.net. You will have the opportunity to set yourself up with a DocuSign email. And so maybe you're out driving, showing property or something, and you receive an offer to purchase on your listing, but you're like, hey, I got your offer in my email and I'm out showing, I'm going to be back at my desk in an hour. While you're there in your Gmail, make sure that you save your DocuSign email. So from your email, you can actually forward that attached document into your DocuSign email, and it will be sitting here like this mineral oil and gas rights is, waiting for you when you get back to your desk. So then I can take this and click the checkbox, and I can move it. So if it's in an active room, I can just search for whatever it was. So maybe they forgot to send me the signed mineral oil and gas rights on my listing. Then I can just go ahead and boop, move that right into that folder on the go, right? I emailed it to myself. It is in my inbox, and I can move it when I'm back at my desk into its appropriate room. So that's way one that you can do this, okay? But you're going to see when I open these articles, one way is you can just forward it and then move it to the room. Another thing you can do, did y'all actually know we're supposed to save email correspondence? Yeah. So if that's the case and you want to save the email correspondence, the text of this email, then you're going to email it to your DocuSign email and put the hashtag or pound symbol, whichever one you like to call it, in the title and put PDF behind it. And it is going to convert that email's contents into a PDF which can then be saved with your Docusign forms. So then you could have access to it to put it in command in your custom folders. You could have a correspondence folder that saves all of your email correspondence if you wanted to do that. I just think it's really cool. You can also, every Docusign room has an identifier number. So if you're very OCD, like me, you can save that number for yourself. And if you put that in the subject line along with the email, it will shoot it directly into that room. So you can see when I'm in a specific room, it's got this ID up here. So you could like save it in your notes on your phone or something, and you can forward stuff directly into that folder, into that specific room. Last, but certainly not least, I'm just going to do this really quickly. And this is not on my sheet that I've shared with you, but I'm going to add it. You can set up folders. So if I had sent these off, I would have two versions of everything, the original form version and the signed version. And a lot of people don't like all that clutter in here. So you can come up to actions and you can add a folder and you can name it signed documents. Or if it was like, I kept having to make my buyers an offer over and over and over, you can create the folder for 123 Main Street and the folder for 576 Maple and this one and this one and this one. And you can have folders within your room. So I could like take this and drop it up here and take this and drop it up there. And maybe like this didn't go through, I can just collapse this and get it out of my way. So setting up folders is a great way to organize if you don't like having all the clutter. Okay, well, that's as far as we're going to go. You guys have access to the tips, tricks, and time savers Google Doc. And again, YouTubers, that will be in the description box of the YouTube video. I hope that you guys found this helpful. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate the questions. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week. Please let me know if I can help you with anything else. And I will see you soon.
That's great. Thank you.